So, got a new pair of boots. Cheers. I saw these and kind of almost fell out of my chair. Look at this boot. You know me with the natural tan, light tan leathers. It's kind of my jam.
It's not my jam. I don't buy jam. I buy honey.
Look at it's not white stitching, but it's, I guess, almost white, off-white, beige stitching, contrast stitching. All right, you know what? I think the light was a little too bright. How about now? It was getting a little blown out. Look at this. Go back to the other side again. I'm just kind of speechless. Look at this. It's the old, I guess they still make them. These English, I don't remember the brand. Those Goodyear Welt Commando soles. You see these, Viberg I think still uses them sometimes. Maybe Oak Street. Any idea what this boot is? I mean, I've given it away right here. It's Truman Boot Company. I didn't know they made boots. I mean, I knew they made boots that were Stitchdown before, but I didn't know they made a boot like this. I mean, this is, to me, I mean, potentially like a perfect boot. As far as the aesthetic, this build, I do really like Stitchdown. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Goodyear Welt, but there's a kind of a special finesse or something about Stitchdown boots that, you know, unfortunately you don't get that with the Goodyear Welt stuff. Truman, you know, they're doing Goodyear Welt. The Japanese makers, I love my Zeros boots, but, you know, it's all Goodyear Welt. This is kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of a little stunned. I, you know, basically almost bought it as soon as I saw them. I did end up talking with the seller first, who seems like a really cool guy. We're chatting a little bit about it, and then, you know, threw in an offer, and he was nice enough to counter me, so give me a little discount over his original asking price, not as cheap as I'd asked for. So we both kind of got what we wanted, kind of made the deal a little sweeter, and then I got this boot that I was a little weary about sizing, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I put it on, and that's not going to be a problem. It doesn't feel actually at all. I'm kind of a little confused and stunned, but it was mostly like I need to just get my hands on these because this is the freaking perfect boot, and it's forbidden because they don't do this anymore. So I asked him, the seller, you know, does he know what year these are from? And he estimated somewhere between 2016, 2017. He says this is from the Pennsylvania factory, which is wild. I knew they were from, like, that's where Vince started the company, and I knew they used to do Stitchdown. Though the pairs I've seen photos of, they usually have really flat toes, like unstructured flat toes. This is a Scholastic, a very hard toe. Plus it's a cap toe. This feels, I mean, this feels like kind of what I try to do a lot of the time with some of my P&W makes, you know? I mean, doesn't this look kind of close? Obviously, there's some differences. I would show you my other prospectors, but they're on my feet right now. But, are not even prospectors. They were called that. You know, this pair that's literally on my foot. They have a pull loop like this. They're a 6-inch like this. They're a 2-piece backstay like this. This is a cap toe. Mine aren't a cap toe. They're a natural Dublin, so it's a lighter tan leather. This is, I don't know what this is actually. The box has a silver Sharpie that says natural, and the seller said, you know, all he knows is a natural leather. He didn't really have any other details. I'm feeling it, and it's stiff. Kind of wondered, is this maybe a horse rump? But probably not. I think what this might be is just some natural veg tan. It definitely feels like veg tan, you know, with a stiffness. Not a chrome tan. Not even a retan, veg tan retan, like some of them. Like, what is it? Cypress, I think, is a chrome tan with a veg retan. This just feels like a straight veg tan of some sort. But the color is beautiful. I mean, look at it here next to, again, the natural Dublin. And they're a bit different, honestly. The lighting is kind of misleading. But I think this pair looks more like my old natural Dublin that are on my feet versus this is a fresher pair that hasn't seen a ton of UV light yet. Doesn't have the amount of wears on it. as the pair that's on my feet right now. This, I don't know, man. I kind of was speechless when I got them, and they got them in the mail, and I was like, this is phenomenal. This is a phenomenal boot, and it's funny too because it has more P&W vibes than like their current stuff. Like this feels very similar to a Nix or a White's as far as the construction, the details. Some of them are handmade. Everyone loves handmade to explain wonkiness, but some of the stitching, is not as precise. I would say they're newer Trumans, maybe they're a little more precise with the stitching, but at least on the uppers, I think the new Trumans have some issues often on the Goodyear welt stitch, and then just some of the gluing between the sole. You can see right there is a little bit of some weirdness below the leather heel stack. You see more of that kind of stuff on Nix and Whites. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just still kind of a little stunned. This tongue is, I assume it's the same leather, but I guess I don't know for sure. It looks sort of darker, but then where, with the pull up and where it's been folded, it ends up looking similar, but I kind of feel like it's a different leather. I don't know for sure. Didn't actually ask the seller about that. I don't think he would remember that kind of a detail. Looking at the inside of it, it looks similar to the quarters, but this kind of feels like this might be something else. Like maybe this is a softer. This does. I guess that's a good tell. The temper of this seems different than this, but it could just be because it's been folded all this time and it's a tongue. I don't know, but I'm kind of a little stunned. So, yeah, I don't know what this is other than I believe this is a. I think they used to call it the P79 Last for Pennsylvania. I assume this must be the P79, 79 Last. I don't know if there's a difference, by the way, between the P79 and the 79. I assume it's the same. They're not going to have a bunch of new Lasts that are the different shape. So this is that Last. You remember the video I said saying goodbye to it. Well, I had to, kind of eat my own words because of this situation. But now it makes me wonder, maybe I should try a 12D in that Last from the new production. This is a 12D. I'm not going to bother, but the tag says 12. I had the 11.5 double E that you guys watched my video on likely. That was not only too wide at the ball, but also too short. My big toe was being pushed severely to the point that it was unwearable. I wore it a couple days and then gave it up and sold them. This feels actually pretty nice. There is definitely that curve in at the big toe, but with the extra length of the 12, this is world superior to 11 double E. This feels honestly similar to how I would say the fit as far as big toe room as the 11.5 D 20 Last. Obviously some of the other Barts are different, but honestly this old 79 and 12D has more of a snug heel area too. It really holds you at the back of the midfoot and the back, which is what people talked about with the 20, where it has the kind of snugger heel. Obviously this toe is bigger. If I hold them up, should be fairly obvious, I would think. But, I think the toe is a little bit wider. Obviously, it's obviously taller for sure on the 20. But it's very, very interesting. And then here's a 20 and 12D, the same size. And, it's going to be hard to show this, but it's a bigger boot just all over. Maybe the length of just from the back of the heel, not the sole part, but like where your heel counter is to the tip might be the same as the 79, but it's much bulkier. But this 79 is interesting, and I wonder if there's some difference in the fit when they used to build them on this Stitchdown construction. Because I've heard the same thing. There was some discussion, I think, when Nick started doing those Parkhurst collab boots, that they had to do something, I thought, with the Last to make it work with a Stitchdown versus Parkhurst construction. At least at that time was all Goodyear well. I know Parkhurst now does a Stitchdown boot, but it's a different Last. It's not that 602M. It's called a 618. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that came out of the collab with Nix. Maybe whatever finesse they had to do. But it looks more pointy. This leather has a couple little, I would say, little defects on it, but it's a natural product, right? So everyone always likes to say. There's kind of a dent right here. I'm not sure if someone had a boot last, or sorry, a boot tree in here and it hit the side or what, kind of pushing it out. I don't really care about that. And then this boot, there's sort of like you can see there's a little mark right there. As far in the leather, I don't think it's like from the boot owner. I think it was in the hide when they cut it. And then there's some, I think, assuming it's from construction, some. So here, look at the bottom of this heel, kind of right underneath. There's some dents and stuff, but like it's irrelevant. You can't really see that part of the boot. 2 laces, I think. There's these cloth laces, and then I think there's some rawhide in there. And then I'm not going to bother trying to lift this up with a camera, or maybe I'll give you guys a chance here. So what I was trying to show you, hopefully you guys saw it there, was there's a stamp on the heel, the sock liner, on the underneath the heel of these. They don't do anything like that on their current boots. I think there's one little Truman stamp. Maybe it's sort of, it's not that round logo and whatnot. It's just like it says Truman Boot, I think. Yeah, so there's like a bigger stamp on the full leather footbed thing that they do now versus this. I think this is a sock liner style. You know what? I'm wrong. I just looked in this thing again. It actually is a full. So just like their new stuff, it's not a sock liner. It's the full length, or you call it a full length stock liner, I guess, or a leather footbed that's like on top of what they built the boot on. So it doesn't actually have any nail holes, clinch nail holes or anything. It's just completely clean. This had a round logo, which I'll show you actually something that was in the box with the boot that they don't use anymore. It's versus the new production that just has kind of the, Truman Boot Company text, if you will, kind of down the middle of it. So in this box, I don't know if they gave this on every pair of boots, but this is wild. There was a tote bag with this huge Truman logo on it. So this is actually the logo you see at the bottom. This is the logo that's at the bottom of the boot on the heel. This round Truman Boot Company, lasting quality, made in USA with the dog. Like, that's pretty cool. I'll just leave this over here. Actually, I want to mention one other thing. So this is kind of here nor there, just kind of an observation. It doesn't matter. But modern, if you say, the current production, I guess, Truman's come in a box like this. So this box is a shoe box, with the little slip-in sides and whatnot that they put inside another box. So, kind of normal stuff. So they put the boots in this box goes into a shipping box, and they put some filler in there, right, so it doesn't bang around too much. And then they ship that to you. Old school Truman came in this box up here. That's basically a heavier duty shipping box. That's not a shoe box, and it looks like they just threw the boots in there. And then this bag was in there. I don't know if everybody got that bag or that was something special, or I don't know what the story is. But that's kind of interesting because that also, in a sense, reminds me, having just a shipping box as the box for the boots, this is a different style box, but this feels, again, more like the P&W makers, where they have a sort of a all-in-one, where it's a shoe box style where the sides slip in and whatnot. Nicks and Whites do this. Well, Whites actually puts that box inside of a shipping box, so I guess theirs isn't maybe as tough. But Nick's and Frank's, at least, it's a thicker corrugated box, and that's not only the boot box, it's a shoe box. So this is sort of like in between. It's just interesting. The logo looks pretty similar, though. I mean, if you look at these two logos, it's the same dog. Obviously his dog Truman, as I understand. Lasting quality is the same font. Made in USA, same font. This one doesn't say Truman below the dog like this does here, but it does on the top. So basically the top of the modern box looks exactly like this logo without lasting quality. And then they have this separate thing down here for the lasting quality. Just, I've never seen anyone talk about this kind of stuff, so I figured I'd do it for the YouTube history, for anyone to watch this down the road. This is way before I knew Truman. I found out about them maybe 3 years ago, I think, maybe more like 2 years ago, when I bought my natural cypress pair when they ran that. So I think that's not even 2 years ago. So maybe I found out about this brand 2 years ago, even though I know they're like 10 years old now. And then I think my first pair I bought was the May 2023 pair. So not even 2 years ago was my first purchase from them. So this stuff from 2016, 2017 from the Pennsylvania factory is crazy. I've seen some random old, you find old articles and stuff on some forums and Reddit and stuff from way back when. Maybe there's some old video. I know Dale has some pretty old videos about Truman, like when he did the C-55 Last video and stuff. Some of that stuff's getting up there, almost 9 years old, I think. But there's not a lot of information on these, and I'm just kind of a little stunned. Like, this is such a freaking awesome boot, and it actually fits. It's kind of crazy. I'm wearing my original Knicks, those so-called prospectors, even though they have a two-piece backstay, my first natural Dublin pair. And though I wear those with a thin sock, and when these came, I took off my right boot because my right foot's, as I've told you guys, super sensitive. It's 11.5D, both heel to ball and heel to toe, but that foot's always the one that's angry about stuff when I have toe push. And I put on the right boot, and it felt very similar. I mean, maybe there's a little bit on the right boot. I could feel it touching my big toe, maybe slightly more than the 67. The 67's very accommodating with it being more boxy, but it's certainly, doesn't feel much different than the 11.5D. So maybe that's it. At least this old 79 in 12D feels very similar to the modern 20 Last in 11.5D, which is surprising. Here's another comparison. I brought in a couple other boots. This one I thought was interesting. Take a look at this. So, this is the Parkhurst Niagara 602M Last, size 11. I have to do a video on these still. I only did that couple shorts. I originally bought this in 11.5, and it was huge because that's what he said. He said to order what you order the True Balance in. That's how I wear the True Balance. It was huge, even with a thicker boot sock. It just felt too long, and it's pointy. This is a 12D. You guys will have to trust me on this, but when I line up the actual back of the heel counters, I mean, yes, the Truman's slightly longer, but barely. I honestly think, it's like the 79 is like off by a half. Like, it runs a half size small. I think it's so humorous when I see people see these, even Dale, I think, they say half down from Brannick. I can't imagine how somebody can take the 79 a half down from Brannick. That's madness. At best, I feel like it runs to Brannick size. But I think a lot of guys, myself included, you have to go up from Brannick. Nothing to do with heel to ball. Like, that's not the issue at all. This is actually a very accommodating ball. It's wider. It's just that crazy curl in for the toe. Maybe people back when I heard they bought this Last off some old shoe company in Pennsylvania. Maybe that was back in the day when everybody was wearing pointy shoes and had bunions or something, and that's when they designed this for, because people wanted it, but it's very pointy. I still think this one looks different, though. You look at the pictures of 79 boots now, and they have a really... Someone said a blob. They described the toe as or the whole boot as a blob. This toe looks a lot more elegant. It's flatter. And this is structured. This is not a soft toe. So even though it's structured, look how much flatter that toe looks. At least the photos they have online, the stuff I've seen online of 79s. I mean, they're not like beefy like the 20, which I like. I'm all about, me and these big toes, sprung toe vibe, This is my bread and butter. But the 79 kind of, it's like big without being right, and I don't know, like even this is a 67 with a soft toe, which kind of tames it. It still kind of has like a shape, at least to me. Maybe I'm biased and I really like this shape of this Last. But I don't know, the photos I see of the 79, it just looks kind of funky. This one is not like that, and I'm kind of almost wonder, did they, do the Brett Weiberg and refine the Last? And they refined it the wrong way, because the modern 79s, I don't find very aesthetically pleasing, and this boot looks great. Here it is from the top. Let me fix the focus here. So, I mean, look. Is that how the 79's looking on their modern builds? I guess it does curve in, but I don't know. It just feels like it looks a little different. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what these are exactly. I don't know the details other than what the seller said, a few things. He mentioned something about this being like a special, I don't know, I think it was a limited pair or something like that. And, I don't know, maybe these weren't something a lot of guys got, but wow, this is, like I said, it's like a perfect boot. Really impressed, really happy with this purchase. I was already talking to the seller. You have anything else in this old Stitchdown stuff? And he looks like he does, and I'm like, let me know, because depending on the makeup, I may be interested. As it is, he sold another pair after this in a different leather that were like slightly used, and I was looking at them the morning of, and I could not, in as much of a deranged boot buyer as I am. I should trademark that as deranged boot buyer. That's my channel. Maybe I should rename my channel. But I was like, these are getting delivered today, and I'm not certain this 79, even in a 12D, would work for me. It was a hope. I was hoping it would work in 12D, but wasn't sure. I tried 11.5 double E, knew that was a complete failure, sold that pair. And then I knew for the 20 last, I have both an 11.5D that fits, decent with a thin sock. And then I have this 12D that fits, it'd be loose with a thin sock. I did try it. I didn't wear them that day. I just took them off, put on thicker socks. But with a boot sock, they feel great. And even with a thick winter sock, I wore them with a thick winter sock yesterday or the day before. They still work well. They're getting a little snugger when you wear a really heavy wool, like a thick wool sock, like a rag wool I was wearing the other day. I posted a picture of it. They still are very comfortable that way, but it's starting to fill up the space maybe to the limit. So I'm like, well, knowing that, maybe if the 79 is similar in 12D, I can make it work. I put them on with a thin sock and they feel great. So I wouldn't be able to wear the 12D vintage 79 at least with a thick sock, not a boot sock even. I'll be wearing these with thin socks, but they seem like they feel pretty good. This makeup is incredible, but it's like half of me is like, this guy's had, these are, he said 2016, 2017. So this boot is what? We're in 2025. This is a very old boot that's never been worn, but I got to wear the boots. So I can't, I've never bought a boot to not wear it. So these will become a used boot very shortly, and I'm going to enjoy them quite a bit, I think. I'm going to wear them the rest of this evening around the house, confirm my fit 100%, and then if this dude comes back and lists some other boots, I'm probably going to be buying from him again because this is like forbidden fruit to me. This is stuff that I've seen little bits about, as I mentioned, but you can't buy a vintage Truman. Not anymore, unless someone like this gentleman decides he's clearing out some of his collection. So, well worth it. My only question, and I know part of the answer to this, is why on earth did Truman stop building their boots this way? This is amazing. I've heard one thing about they were having problems with re-sole, and with obviously with Stitchdown, if you don't do the re-sole by hand and reuse the holes, you're gonna chew the hell up of the Stitchdown. I did hear they convert sometimes, so they'll convert basically a stitch down to Goodyear welt where you end up rolling this under and sewing the welt onto the boot. So that was one of the stories I heard, but I wonder if it was just more challenging for them to do these and it wasn't practical. Or maybe there was something in the Pennsylvania or Colorado factories that they didn't move to Eugene with them or something. But this kind of floors me. I definitely, if someone asks, which is better built, I guess as far as durability, you could maybe make some arguments, and let's put them kind of head to head here. These new boots, the sole is a little bit thicker. This is a different type of sole, being the lug one. I don't know if it's really heavier, honestly. I don't think there's really much there. The stitching, I just want to say, feels a little bit more tight, more Viberg-y, as much as I hate Viberg's overpriced nonsense. They're very good about those kind of details. This feels very precise. This is a little bit more, where you see changes in the like stitches per inch. It gets really tight right here. This feels more handmade. Feels a little bit more machine, like, more controlled. I know they do machine lasting now. Maybe they didn't do that back then. So this, I don't know. This feels like a more reproducible boot, and maybe that was what Vince was going for, and maybe that's really the answer. He could continuously make boots. His factory, more, I guess, like, the customer experience is predictable if you can make the boot consistent. Maybe the Stitchdown just was problematic, sort of like the video I posted the other day about Knicks and just P&W in general, where it's like every other boot is different. One guy was commenting saying he had 3 pairs and the left and right don't fit the same, and just all these issues from all the handmade. It's like the loyalist cultists justify all the problems of the P&W stuff with it as this. It's almost like a Uno reverse card of it's handmade. There's a bullet hole in the toe, but it's handmade, guys. So that means it's better, and it's total garbage and nonsense, in my opinion. That could be what happened here. They were doing more handmade, and it was problematic, and maybe they had customer complaints, or they were having boots that had to get tossed because they weren't meeting their quality, and maybe moving more to predictable machining or whatever has resulted in kind of a more consistent product, I guess. That's the only thing I could think. But I don't know. Maybe they should do both, because there's a magic to this. I'm sorry if this is going to be a super ramble video or whatever. If you hate it, tune out. If you enjoy it, it's just I'm staring at these boots while I'm talking to you guys, and I can't believe it. Like, this is such a gorgeous boot. Something that I will find out about, I guess, because we're still in the winter here, is this a type of veg tan that stains? If it is, that's going to be kind of a bummer. My hope is maybe this is more like something like Horween. My experience with Horween, Dublin especially, but even the Essex Wescos I had for a bit before I sold them, is you can get them rained on and wet and they dry and you'd never know. There's no marks. There's no spots. Wicked and Craig has not been that way in my experience. Every little water drop leaves a dark stain. I learned you had to just wear them in the rain and get them completely soaked, and then the whole boot's discolored, and then you can't see dots as much. But that's kind of lame. Yeah, these are really cool. Look at that stitch down from Truman. Very, very neat. Really impressed. I think I'm gonna run these flat laces, because you can't get flat laces you could buy your own laces, but Truman doesn't do flat lace anymore. They do rawhide, and their round laces are very nice, but they don't do a flat lace. So I think I'm gonna do the flat lace to kind of do the vintage 2016, 2017 Truman. The tag on the inside of the boot for the size looks identical. Maybe they've been using the same one all this time. Yeah, really cool. Really happy. Really glad this seller decided to clear out some of his collection, because now I'm helping him clear out his closet, and I'm adding to my closet some amazing stuff that I've never seen before. So color me happy on that. That's it for tonight, guys. Cheers. Or I guess you'll be watching this in the morning, like when I usually post my videos. So cheers anyway.